Welcome to a story where ethics are a distant memory, survival is a high-stakes game, and karma is just a myth. Meet Chu Xuan, our hero, with the charm of a rotting corpse and the morals of, well, someone who practices demonic arts for fun. After dodging death by a hair, he stumbles upon a zombie-infested world and thinks, why not make this apocalypse my personal training ground? With dark magic in one hand and a murderous centipede in the other, Chu Xuan is on a mission to prove that even in a world crawling with the undead, it's the living you really need to worry about. So, strap in for a wild ride full of betrayal, bloodshed, and decisions that would make even the most hardened villain cringe. The story begins at Cangxuan City, a bustling town full of life, laughter, and the occasional whispered rumor. Today, however, the whispers carry a more sinister tone, one that sends shivers down the spines of those who dare to listen. "Hey, have you heard?" a wide-eyed villager exclaims, his voice dripping with morbid excitement. "The remnants of the Wuji sect have appeared in Cangxuan City." Oh, I've heard all right," another replies, leaning in conspiratorially. "They say these remnants cultivate demonic arts using the blood and flesh of living beings. We common folk are their hunting targets. How brutal." Suddenly, a third voice chimes in, eager to dispel the rising panic. "Don't worry. Recently, many righteous cultivators have arrived. They'll surely capture them. What could possibly go wrong?" "Right," another scoffs. "These demonic cultivators deserve to be eradicated. The world will be better off without them." As the crowd nods in self-righteous agreement, a lone figure strolls down the same street, his ears pricked and his expression carefully blank. This man, unremarkable at first glance, is none other than Chu Xuan, a former inner disciple of the very sect they are so eager to vilify. And unbeknownst to them, he hears every word, thanks to a magical snail discreetly hidden in his ear. "It seems this place isn't safe to stay anymore," Chu Xuan muses bitterly, clenching his teeth as a cold sweat forms on his brow. His mind races as he walks, the weight of the past year pressing down on him like a vice. "This past year I've been fleeing and hiding like a rat, hunted like a wild animal. A time traveler living like this? It's really something, isn't it? A glorious journey through time only to end up as prey." He grimaces at the thought, his eyes darkening as memories flood back. Memories of the Wuji sect, once the largest and most powerful sect in the Yu Kingdom. "In this cursed Cangxuan Continent, I have no family, no background, and my cultivation aptitude is, let's be honest, mediocre at best. After years of blood, sweat, and tears, I managed to join the Wuji sect. I dabbled in everything, goo worms, poison arts, disguises, corpse puppetry, whatever it took to survive. And just when I was about to be accepted as a personal disciple by the elders," he pauses, his fist clenching at the cruel irony. "But alas, the gods have a sick sense of humor. The Wuji sect's first ancestor went mad and died during cultivation, and the so-called righteous sects pounced on us like vultures. They labeled us a demonic sect and launched a joint crusade. The leadership, dead or scattered to the winds. The disciples, slaughtered like livestock. The survivors, hunted like vermin. And me, stuck with techniques that require more fresh blood and flesh than I can ever hope to gather." His veins throb visibly beneath his skin, his body racked with pain as the full horror of his predicament settles in. "If I don't obtain resources soon, I'll suffer a backlash so horrific it'll make death look like a mercy." His breath comes in ragged gasps as he struggles to keep walking, his vision blurring with the strain. "My body is on the verge of collapse. I need to act fast." Through the haze of pain, Chu Xuan spots a restaurant up ahead, its door slightly ajar. Peering inside, he sees someone, a figure he recognizes. This time I managed to contact a surviving junior brother as a purchasing channel. Hopefully this can solve my urgent problem. His eyes narrow with a mix of desperation and resolve as he begins to move towards the restaurant. The junior brother inside notices him, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. But beneath that, there's something else. Fear, perhaps, or maybe just the instinctive wariness of someone who knows what it means to be hunted. Our hero, the ever-stoic Chu Xuan, quietly places his hat on the table, the weight of the world seemingly pressing down on his shoulders. His junior brother, He Liang, practically leaps out of his skin with joy, uncovering his face with an enthusiasm that could almost be mistaken for naivety, or just plain foolishness. "Chu Xuan, senior brother, you finally arrived," he exclaims, his eyes wide with admiration that only a person completely oblivious to the impending doom could muster. But of course, nothing is ever that simple. He Liang's grin fades a little as he peers at Chu Xuan, noticing the paleness of his face, the grim set of his jaw. "Senior brother, you don't look well. Are you okay?" Chu Xuan, ever the master of understatements, endures the pain gnawing at him like an old friend and replies, "He Liang, did you bring the items?" And there it is, the moment when He Liang's smile turns into a nervous sweat. "Senior brother, you are really brave," he stammers, his voice betraying a mixture of awe and terror. "You still dare to practice the sect's demonic arts. If these blood beads from the demonic beasts are discovered by the 5 major righteous sects, it's a death sentence for sure." His voice is practically trembling, but it's hard to tell if it's out of respect or just pure, unadulterated fear. Chu Xuan's eyes narrow and a sinister look crosses his face, one that would make even the boldest man reconsider his life choices. From the day those righteous sects annihilated our sect under false charges, we were already sentenced to death. Whether we practice demonic arts or not, what's the difference? He Liang, still sweating bullets, tries to manage a smile that looks more like a grimace. "Senior brother Chu Xuan, I didn't think that much. I just wanted to say these resources weren't easy to obtain." But Chu Xuan isn't in the mood for niceties. He hands He Liang something wrapped in cloth, a gesture that's more transactional than generous. "You have worked hard. The blood beads are good quality. Here are the 10 low-grade spirit stones as promised." Just as He Liang's hand closes around the spirit stones, Chu Xuan's senses prick up. There's someone whispering. "It's almost time to close the net." The voice hisses and Chu Xuan's blood runs cold. He freezes, his mind racing. He listens intently, his hand subtly touching the magic snail tucked away, amplifying the whispers. "After catching him, make sure to search him thoroughly. His wealth must be more than just this," one voice whispers, dripping with greed. Another one chimes in almost gleefully. "Using traitors from the Wuji sect to lure out these stragglers. This snake luring out of its whole tactic works every time." And then, as if to twist the knife further, all the resources he's painstakingly accumulated will soon be ours. The voice is so smug, Chu Xuan can practically feel the smirk behind it. For a moment, Chu Xuan's heart sinks. But then, the calculation kicks in, the strategy that has kept him alive this long. He's been set up, but he's not about to go down without a fight. Silently, he decides to play along, mask firmly in place. Feigning nonchalance, he asks, "Junior brother, I also need the blood spirit pill. Can you get it?" He Liang, still blissfully ignorant, nods quickly, though sweat beads at his brow. "I do have some, but those are used by Foundation establishment cultivators for healing." He trails off, clearly not expecting this request. Then, in a sudden burst of misplaced excitement, He Liang blurts out, "Senior brother, have you found Uncle Lu and the others?" Chu Xuan's face darkens, his voice dropping to a dangerously low tone. "Don't ask what you shouldn't. If you have the blood spirit pill, then quickly get it out." He Liang, realizing he's on thin ice, starts to sweat even more, his voice shaky. The blood spirit pill is expensive. Senior brother, can you afford it? How about you take me to see Uncle Lou? If I can get the protection of a Foundation establishment cultivator like Uncle Lou, I would willingly offer the blood spirit pill for free and also gift senior brother a mid-grade spirit stone. Ah, the promise of a mid-grade spirit stone, worth 100 low-grade ones. It's practically a king's ransom, but Chu Xuan's grin only widens, devilish and calculating. Though it's very risky. But, well, considering your sincerity, he drawls, pretending to ponder the offer. Inside, he's already planning his next move, one step ahead of the traitors who think they have him cornered. The stage is set, and the players are in place. And Chu Xuan? He's about to show them why underestimating him was their first and last mistake. Chu Xuan and He Liang walked through the dimly lit streets, their steps measured, and the tension between them was palpable. Shadows lurked in the corners, watching, waiting. In the distance, a group of figures locked their eyes on the pair, their whispers carried by the wind. He Liang has gone with him, one of the figures muttered, eyes narrowing. Meanwhile, an elder and his disciples were huddled in a secluded spot, the elder's eyes gleaming with predatory excitement. I didn't expect to catch such a big fish today. If we can capture another Foundation establishment cultivator, the sex rewards will be substantial. And let's not forget the wealth we'll gain. Far better than cultivating in isolation. His disciples exchanged devilish grins, their minds already fantasizing about the riches they'd soon claim. The scene shifted to a hidden hideout where the elder's disciples had surrounded the entire place. Inside, Chu Xuan led He Liang through a dark underground passage. The air was thick with anticipation as they descended a narrow staircase, the only sounds being their footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls. He Liang, trying to mask his unease, exclaimed, "Senior brother is cautious indeed. This small courtyard and underground passage are truly flawless." His voice wavered as the darkness seemed to close in around them. "But how much longer do we have to walk?" Chu Xuan's tone turned icy. "We should be almost there. However, if you're in a hurry, junior brother." He paused, a devilish grin creeping across his face. "How about I give you a ride?" Before He Liang could respond, he was sent flying through the air by a powerful blow, his body crashing into the ground with a sickening thud. As he lay there gasping for breath, people started gathering around, their eyes widening in shock. "Oh look, it's He Liang," one of them muttered, noticing his pitiful state. Barely able to lift his head, He Liang pointed a trembling finger towards the hideout. "Underground. Chu Xuan and Liu Zhenxiong are both underground. Don't worry about me, go quickly. Don't let them escape." The elder's eyes lit up with vicious glee as he barked out, "Rush in and kill them all!" His disciples surged forward, moving with the speed and ferocity of a pack of hunting dogs. The disciples barreled down the stairs, their excitement palpable. But their triumph turned to terror when they stumbled upon a horrifying sight. A dead body completely desiccated, as if all the blood had been drained from it. Panic rippled through the group. "Uncle Master, there's a dried corpse here!" one of the disciples cried out, his voice trembling with fear. The elder moved forward, examining the corpse with a grim expression. His face twisted in horror as he realized what he was looking at. So cruel. The skin on the face and head have been peeled off. His eyes widened in shock as the truth dawned on him. It's He Liang. Suddenly, the elder's eyes snapped up, wild with realization. "The one outside is Chu Xuan. Go back, we've all been deceived by him." But it was too late. Chu Xuan had already vanished into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but chaos and corpses in his wake. The scene shifts to the outskirts of Qinghe City, where Chu Xuan, now safely away from prying eyes, finally rips off his mask, The hastily made human skin mask, damp with sweat, lands in the dirt with a wet slap. "Oh, this thing is like wearing a corpse on my face," he mutters, rubbing his skin where the mask had clung uncomfortably. This time, it was all thanks to that listening worm for catching the wind of the ambush and seeing through He Liang's betrayal. Honestly, who would have thought that spineless rat could put on such a convincing act? A flicker of seriousness passes over his face as he stares into the distance. Asterisk. But what now? I can't keep running forever. Maybe I should turn to the righteous path. The thought hangs in his mind for a moment, and then a long, weary sigh escapes his lips. Asterisk no. Switching to the righteous path's techniques would mean abolishing all my previous cultivation. The backlash alone could kill me, or worse, leave me crippled. And let's be real, he thinks with a bitter smirk. Asterisk with my mediocre aptitude. Even if I did switch, I'd probably die of old age before reaching the foundation establishment stage. What a tragic comedy that would be. With a final glance at the discarded mask, he tosses it aside, watching as the wind picks it up and carries it away. Asterisk. Only demonic arts, he muses. Asterisk with their low entry requirements and quick results can give someone like me, someone with all the talent of a dried-up carrot, a slim hope of seeking immortality. The righteous path. Ha! That's a fairy tale for those born with silver spoons in their mouths. His eyes harden as he makes his decision. Asterisk. I must continue down this so-called demonic path. After all, when the world's already labeled you a monster, you might as well become one worth fearing. The scene shifts to a cave nestled deep within the mountain, its entrance softly glowing with an eerie light inside. The air is thick with the scent of blood and dust, and a familiar voice echoes through the cavern. No matter what the future holds, at least today is a good day, Chu Xuan says, his tone dripping with sardonic satisfaction. Not only did I absorb He Liang's spiritual power, but I also took all his wealth. What a huge profit! He chuckles to himself, the kind of laugh that belongs to someone who's won the lottery in hell. An unexpected bonus. This traitor He Liang actually had a mysterious artifact from the Wuji sect's treasury. They said it came from a battlefield beyond this realm, with an extremely high grade, but no one in the sect ever managed to gain its approval before the sect's destruction. His eyes gleam with greed as he holds the artifact, a mirror, dark and foreboding, yet strangely alluring. I wonder if I, being from beyond this realm, could be an exception, he muses, pouring his energy into the artifact. And then it happens. The artifact responds. Chu Xuan's eyes widen in shock as the mirror's surface begins to ripple and glow. Does it resemble the post-apocalyptic disaster films I saw before crossing time? He murmurs, incredulous. Is this an illusion? He reaches out to touch the mirror, but before he can think twice, a force yanks him in it. The world spins, and when it finally stills, Chu Xuan finds himself clutching his head, a splitting headache pounding behind his eyes. What happened? Was I sucked into the mirror? He looks around, heart racing as he takes in his new surroundings. A city, or what's left of one, stretches out before him. Skyscrapers toppled, roads cracked, and the air thick with the stench of decay. This is actually a world, he whispers, cold sweat trickling down his spine. Why did this world end up like this? War? Plague? Alien invasion? Desperation claws at him as he scans the desolate landscape. I wish I could find a survivor to understand the situation. This probably isn't the Earth I once lived on. His wish is granted, or so he thinks, when he spots a shadowy figure in the distance. Relief washes over him as he hurries toward it. Thank goodness I finally met a living person! But fate, ever the trickster, has other plans. As he gets closer, his relief turns to horror. The figure isn't human. It's a zombie, and it's not alone. Two more lurch into view, their dead eyes locked onto him. "It's a zombie!" Chu Xuan shouts, panic gripping his chest. But survival instincts kick in, and he quickly performs his demonic art. Blood-steel thread. A centipede made of blood slithers out of his hand, and in the blink of an eye, it slices one of the zombies in half, its body collapsing like a broken puppet. Chu Xuan watches, heart still pounding, but his fear quickly fades. So it was just a false alarm. This physical body is no different from that of an ordinary person. In front of the goo worm of a chi refining stage cultivator, it's simply not worth mentioning. His eyes narrow as he notices something peculiar. The blood-steel thread, now hovering over the zombie's corpse, seems to be drooling. If a blood centipede could drool, that is. Blood-steel thread wants to devour the zombie's flesh? That's right, the zombie can move, so it should count as a living being too. I wonder if using the zombie's flesh to cultivate my technique and feed the goo worm would work. The centipede doesn't wait for permission. With a single stroke, it devours the zombie, the flesh disappearing into its gory maw. Chu Xuan's eyes widen in amazement. It really works. It seems that this type of flesh is exactly to your liking. But as more zombies shuffle toward him from the shadows, Chu Xuan's grin only widens. In this case, from now on, I won't need to worry about the supply of fresh blood for cultivating demonic arts and feeding the goo worms. As the undead horde closes in, Chu Xuan's excitement grows. He surveys the approaching zombies, calculating the potential of this twisted world. This city, even the entire planet, will be my resource pool, a paradise for demonic cultivators. With a devilish smile, he charges at the zombies, his blood-steel thread cutting them down like wheat before a scythe. And killing zombies is considered upholding justice, so it won't reduce my merits or incur heavenly punishment from the human race's heavenly path. I can cultivate demonic arts and increase my power without restraint. I may even pursue the path of immortality, something I never dared to dream of in my previous life, the great path to immortality. As the camera zooms out, we see Chu Xuan standing triumphantly on a mountain of dead zombies, his laughter echoing across the desolate landscape. A badass hero in a twisted world, carving his path to immortality. Chu Xuan stands triumphantly atop the mountain of zombie corpses, his chest heaving with exertion, but his eyes gleaming with twisted satisfaction. He glances down at the carnage he's wrought, a smirk playing on his lips as he thinks, in just a short while, I broke through from the 4th level of chi refinement to the 5th. This place is indeed a sacred land for cultivating demonic skills. But as the adrenaline begins to wane, a more practical thought creeps into his mind, darkening his expression. However, personally hunting down zombies and draining their blood is too much trouble, he muses, his tone shifting from exhilaration to irritation. It's time to try refining a few corpse puppets to do the work for me. To refine a corpse, you need a strong body and deep resentment. Only then will the refined corpse possess good qualities. He lets out a sigh, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he surveys the zombies around him. These people in front of me are truly useless, like rotten wood that can't be carved. His gaze lingers on the grotesque, shambling figures, their lifeless eyes staring back at him without a hint of intelligence or purpose. Well, for now, I'll use this place as a temporary base, he decides, his eyes narrowing as he looks around. The desolate landscape stretches out before him, but in the distance, the silhouette of a large shopping mall catches his attention. In such a large shopping mall, I should be able to find a few suitable targets. Inside the dimly lit shopping mall, the air was thick with the stench of decay and fear. A terrified boy, barely in his teens, found himself cornered by a horde of ravenous zombies, their lifeless eyes fixated on him like vultures ready to feast. The boy's voice trembled as he screamed, "Brother Who, please, save me!" His desperate cries echoed through the abandoned corridors, but the only response was the sound of shuffling feet and the low growls of the undead. In the distance, hidden among the shadows, a figure watched the scene unfold with a devilish grin, his eyes gleaming with sadistic pleasure. The boy's pleas grew more frantic as the zombies closed in on him, their rotting hands reaching out to claim their next meal. "Brother Who, didn't you say you'd rescue me after I distracted the zombies and gathered the resources? Brother Who, my mom and sister still need me. I can't die here." A cruel laugh pierced the darkness, and Brother Who stepped forward just enough for the boy to see his twisted smile. "Oh, I might have forgotten to tell you," he sneered, his voice dripping with mockery, "that your mom died yesterday. The Spirit Hound gang wouldn't waste medicine on a 60-year-old woman." The boy's eyes widened in shock, his face paling as the words sank in. "What did you say?" Brother Who shrugged, turning his back on the boy as he began to walk away, leaving him to his fate. "Thanks for risking your life to lure away the zombies. After you die, I'll take good care of your sister." His voice was casual, almost amused, as if he were discussing the weather rather than abandoning someone to a gruesome death. As the zombies descended upon the boy, tearing into his flesh, his screams of agony filled the air. "Tang Hu, you will pay for this!" But his words were drowned out by the sound of gnashing teeth and the wet, sickening noise of flesh being ripped apart. Tang Hu laughed, a cold, heartless sound that echoed through the mall as he picked up his pace, eager to escape before the zombies lost interest in their prey. Humph, there is no such thing as retribution. The rule of this world has always been the survival of the fittest. But just as he began to feel a twisted sense of victory, he noticed a figure approaching from the darkness. The sight stopped him in his tracks, a shiver of fear running down his spine. The figure moved with an eerie calmness, his presence sending a chill through the air. With a devilish grin, Chu Xuan stepped into the dim light, his eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger. "Who's there?" With a sinister smile curling on his lips, Chu Xuan leaned closer, his eyes gleaming with a dark hunger. "Your body, it's quite nice," he mused, his voice smooth and chilling. Tang Hu, already feeling the icy grip of fear, tried to muster some bravado, but it crumbled as quickly as his false sense of security. He couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that this strange man was not someone to be trifled with. This guy's outfit is strange. I've never heard of such a person in Donghu City, Tang Hu thought, a bead of sweat trailing down his temple. What? What do you mean? Tang Hu stammered, his voice shaky, his mind racing to find a way out. Chu Xuan's chuckle echoed through the empty mall, a sound as dark as the shadows that seemed to cling to him. "I mean, your body is perfect, just right as material for refining a corpse. You'll make a fine servant," he replied, his tone dripping with sarcasm as if the very idea was an amusing joke. Tang Hu's eyes widened in terror, his fear morphing into anger as he lashed out with his knife, screaming, "Are you looking to die?" But Chu Xuan barely moved, his expression remaining calm, almost bored. With a casual flick of his wrist, he summoned his demonic art. Blood-steel thread! The centipede made of blood sprang from his hand, effortlessly deflecting the knife, slicing it in two, and even nicking Tang Hu's hand in the process. Tang Hu staggered back, his instincts screaming at him to run, the pain in his hand a sharp reminder of just how outmatched he was. He watched in horror as the blood centipede gleefully gnawed on a piece of the broken knife, its tiny jaws crunching the metal like a snack. This person can coexist with insects. He must be extraordinary. I am no match for him. A wise man knows when to retreat, Tang Hu thought desperately, trying to mask his fear with a shaky smile. My brother-in-law is Zhao, the boss of the Spirit Hound gang. For his sake, let me go. You can even have that bag of supplies, Tang Hu offered, his voice tinged with both desperation and false warmth, as he clung to the hope that this terrifying man might be swayed by the mention of his connections. Chu Xuan's expression shifted to one of annoyance as he replied, "The Spirit Hound Gang. Never heard of it." His dismissive tone cut through Tang Hu's thin veneer of confidence like a knife. Tang Hu, still sweating bullets, tried again, his voice more frantic. "You don't know. We're the largest group in Donghu City. My brother-in-law, Zhao Hong, is an extraordinary person. He's 10 times stronger than me." Chu Xuan smirked, unimpressed. "If he's only 10 times stronger than a mere mortal like you, then I'm not worried." With another flick of his wrist, the blood-steel thread shot out, wrapping around Tang Hu and hoisting him upside down into the air like a helpless puppet. Tang Hu screamed in terror, flailing as he dangled like a caught fish, completely at the mercy of the man before him. Chu Xuan, holding Tang Hu with an almost casual air, began dragging him toward a shadowy area, where the unmistakable glow of a demonic ritual illuminated the dark corners of the mall. A large cauldron bubbled ominously, the red liquid inside simmering with an unsettling energy. Chu Xuan's voice was calm, almost conversational, as he said, "Once I use my secret method to trigger your resentment, you will be a solid corpse soldier." His words were delivered with the nonchalance of someone discussing the weather, not the gruesome fate awaiting Tang Hu. Panic seized Tang Hu as he stared into the bubbling cauldron. The reality of his situation hit him like a tidal wave. Wait! I have no personal grudge. Why kill me?" Chu Xuan's devilish smile widened, and he replied with a chilling calmness, "Didn't you just say it yourself? The law of this world is survival of the fittest. Killing someone like you doesn't even diminish my karma. You are perfect for corpse refining." Tang Hu's screams grew more frantic, the raw terror in his voice echoing through the empty mall. No! But his pleas fell on deaf ears as Chu Xuan unceremoniously dumped him into the cauldron, the red liquid swallowing him whole. As Tang Hu's screams died down, Chu Xuan began to explain to the now silent mall, his voice almost academic. The level of a corpse soldier corresponds to a cultivator's realm, the Qi refining stage, foundation establishment stage, core formation stage, and nascent soul stage. Different refining methods produce corpse soldiers with different characteristics. The one I have mastered is the Diamond Corpse Refinement method from the Corpse Puppet sect. This method creates corpse soldiers that are impervious to blades and bullets, possess immense strength, and can even rival a Qi refinement cultivator once fully refined. Chu Xuan watched the cauldron with satisfaction as the ritual took hold, the bubbling liquid sealing Tang Hu's fate. The scene shifts 3 days later, the air thick with anticipation as a demonic hand claws its way out of the bubbling cauldron. With a ferocious roar, the newly refined corpse puppet, formerly Tang Hu, emerges from the cauldron, steam rising from his grotesque form. Chu Xuan, standing nearby, can't help but grin, his eyes gleaming with twisted satisfaction. "I didn't expect my first corpse refinement to be a success," he exclaims, pride dripping from every word. In his hand, a small tower-like glowing artifact pulses with eerie light, the Corpse Nurturing Tower, a low-grade magical artifact perfect for housing, nurturing, and appraising corpse soldiers. With practiced ease, Chu Xuan casts 2 innate spells, Bloodthirsty Art and Golden Light Mantra. The spells converge, imbuing Tang Hu's new form with malevolent energy. The once arrogant man is now a medium-grade corpse soldier, his level immediately rising to 2. Chu Xuan's smile widens as he observes his creation. Not bad. Not only did it reach level 2 immediately, but the 2 innate spells complement each other nicely. Simultaneously casting them should make it comparable to a level 4 corpse soldier, capable of holding its own against a 4th level Chi Refinement cultivator for a while. He thinks, the thrill of power coursing through him. Level 2 corpse soldier. Let's call you Little Tiger, Chu Xuan declares, his voice tinged with a mix of mockery and amusement. Go out and collect zombie flesh. With a guttural roar, Little Tiger charges out of the mall, ready to fulfill his gruesome mission. The next scene plays out like a brutal comedy. Little Tiger, now a zombie-slaying machine, rampages through the mall. He beats down zombies with the ruthless efficiency of a father who's had enough of his kid's report card, filled with FCs. Sometimes he slams them to the ground with a choke slam. Other times, he splits them in two with his bare hands. The sight is so absurd, it's almost cartoonish. Chu Xuan watches, a devilish smile plastered on his face. This corpse soldier can sweep through this mall with no problem. Now I can just sit back and reap the rewards, he exclaims, the sheer ease of it all, almost too good to be true. The scene shifts again. This time to a lone zombie wandering aimlessly around the mall like a lost child. Suddenly, Little Tiger appears out of nowhere, grabbing the zombie like it's just another grocery item on his shopping list and tossing it into his makeshift shopping cart, already overflowing with zombie corpses. The sight is both hilarious and macabre as the cart creaks under the weight of its ghastly cargo. Cut to Chu Xuan, who's now lounging back, peacefully eating a cup of noodles as if he's enjoying a lazy Sunday. Suddenly, Little Tiger wheels in with his shopping cart, grinning like a kid who's just raided the candy aisle. Chu Xuan looks up, a proud smile spreading across his face, almost like a father admiring his son's first big catch. Well done. With an assistant like this, my cultivation efficiency has greatly improved, he says, reaching out to pet Little Tiger as if he were a loyal dog. Once I extract the blood, you can eat the flesh from these corpses. It should help you level up a bit. As Chu Xuan indulges in his success, a satisfied smile on his lips, he can't help but reflect on his bizarre turn of fate. Who would have thought that while I barely survived on the Cangxuan Continent, in this world, I'd become a powerful figure who controls life and death. I can even enjoy the various snacks and delicacies from my previous life once again. His gaze drifts to the blood mirror, now dimmed and dormant. All of this is thanks to the blood mirror, which has given me a great opportunity, he muses aloud. Unfortunately, after transporting me here, the blood mirror dimmed and lost its function. However, it seems to be slowly absorbing energy. One day it will be restored. If I return to the Cangxuan Continent now, I would still be hunted by righteous cultivators. It's better to bide my time and cultivate demonic arts in peace on this zombie-infested planet, just like this blood mirror, and return when the time is right. The camera pans to reveal a grotesque sight. Just like a mother hanging clothes on a line to dry, Chu Xuan has strung up dozens of zombies on a rope, their lifeless bodies swaying gently as they drain of blood. The macabre scene is almost surreal, as if Chu Xuan has turned the mall into his personal slaughterhouse and drying rack. The scene shifts to the dim, musty interior of Hao Tai Hotel in Donghu City. The air is thick with tension, almost suffocating. A young boy, barely in his teens, stands trembling with fear, his eyes wide as he stares at the floor, too terrified to look up. In the shadowy corner of the room, a figure looms, the kind of presence that fills a room with dread without even trying. A deep, menacing voice breaks the silence, dripping with a mixture of mockery and impatience. You promised me. You'd find out what happened to Tang Hu within half a month. The voice belongs to none other than Zhao Hong, the infamous leader of the Spirit Hound Gang, a man whose reputation is as blood-soaked as his hands. He's not alone. Beside him, a massive wolf, easily the size of a small horse, growls lowly, its eyes locked on the trembling boy like he's nothing more than prey. The boy's legs nearly give out beneath him as he stammers, "But boss, I... He can barely get the words out, his fear choking him like a noose. Zhao Hong steps forward, his devilish look accentuated by the faint light filtering through the dusty curtains. His voice takes on a dangerous edge, sharp enough to cut through bone. "It's already been a month," he snarls, and the wolf's growl rises in pitch, filling the room with a bone-chilling sound. The boy flinches as the reality of his situation crashes over him like a tidal wave. "Boss, I found out that Brother Hu disappeared at the Little Runfa shopping mall, but it's very dangerous there now. 2 of my men who went to scout have already gone missing. There might be a high-level zombie. It's not my fault. Only you, boss, can handle a high-level zombie." The boy's voice is a frantic plea, desperation oozing from every word as he clutches at the hope that his excuse might save his life. Zhao Hong's expression softens, almost imperceptibly, as he starts petting the wolf. For a moment, it seems like he might let the boy off. "It's true, it's not your fault. After all, you are an ordinary person," he says with a sigh, his tone almost reflective. The boy's face lights up with a mix of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, boss, thank you," he exclaims, his voice shaking with overwhelming relief. But before the words can fully leave his lips, the wolf lunges forward. The boy's scream is cut short as the wolf's jaws close around him, and the sound of tearing flesh fills the room. Blood sprays across the floor as Zhao Hong watches coldly, his face devoid of any emotion. The boy's body jerks and twitches as the wolf tears into him, the life draining from his eyes in seconds. In the background, Zhao Hong's voice continues, calm and unfeeling, like he's commenting on the weather. "But I'm not going to keep feeding a useless ordinary person like you anymore." The room falls silent, save for the grisly sounds of the wolf feasting. Zhao Hong turns away from the gruesome scene, a devilish grin creeping onto his face as he addresses one of his underlings, who's been watching the whole thing in grim silence. "Wang Bao, bring Da Huang and He with you. We're going to the Little Runfa shopping mall," he orders, his voice carrying the cold authority of a man who knows exactly what kind of monster he is. "These are the only chapters available, and that's all you get for now. If you want to witness more of this delightful descent into madness, make sure to subscribe, because cliffhangers are the only real torture I indulge in. For now."